Hello, everybody. We're here today to start an interview with Anne Sibley O'Brien. For those who don't know Anne Sibley O'Brien, she is a writer and illustrator of children's books. She is a North American. She lived in South Korea, and now we're about to start the interview with this magnificent and very, very good person. Anne Sibley O'Brien, welcome to our interview. I'd like you
Thank
to
you. I'm
make
thrilled to be here.
I'd like you to make a short presentation about yourself, please.
Okay. My name is Anne Sibley O'Brien. I live on an island in Maine in the United States at the northeastern corner. And I write and illustrate children's books. I've published 37 books, mostly picture books, about half of which I have illustrated as well.
Okay, good. So, as I told you before, I have already learned some books. You have really mailed me this book, I'm New Here, which tackled the issue of immigrant children. We are working on it on my final paper, My Crew and I. And I found it really interesting for us as we have considered it as our reference. I want you to speak a little bit about this children book. What are your references? What were your references? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the author, the writers, and the illustrators you got influenced by in order to give us this great job.
Thank you. You mentioned that I grew up in Korea, and one of the pieces of that experience was attending a university, Korean university, for my junior year of college, during which I studied Korean arts. And I would say that one of the primary influences in terms of the art for this book was the Korean painters that I studied, and then also the technique that I learned in the Korean university, using brushes that that are dipped in black ink, and then I did the washes with more watered down ink. So the original illustrations were all done in upside down uh, in
Okay.
brush and ink.
Okay.
The influences in terms of writers, I also had, or in terms of writing, I had experts who helped me understand the details, like about life in Somalia, that helped me correct it so that it was more accurate.
Okay. And for example, return back square to the back point. For example, you have hit three characters. Your Maria Jin from South Korea, as you told me last time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for making this mistake. And Fatima from Somalia,
Yes,
Guatemala, and South Korea. As you
yes.
told me before, it's composite characters. They don't exist. That's it.
When I started out, there were 6 characters. Everybody was imagined, yeah, composite, not based on any real person, but altogether based on many children that I had met.
Okay, I see. I'd like to ask you a question about your creative process, the
Yes.
brainstorming, the mood board, the inspiration board. How did you concept all these things?
I use a very complex process going round and round with many storyboards. Make sure I have it right. Um, so this is an early one when there were 6 characters. And I think I made about a dozen of these storyboards where I'm trying to imagine the entire book all on one page. And this especially helped me organize because, in a sense, this is a concept book. It's not just a single story. It's got many different ideas that I'm trying to present, such as the focus on Maria is with communication, conversation. The focus with Jin is on reading and writing, and the focus on with Fatima is on culture or way of life. So I had to keep track of all that, and the storyboards helped me. I also use practice books called Dummies. So this is an early one, many changes that it went through. Then many rough sketches, and that aren't exactly what went in the final book. And then eventually, 3 years later, that's with the art. Yeah, 3 years later, getting to the point where I have the rough sketches of approximately what will be in the final book.
Okay.
Also, with the writing along the way, I did a lot of research, including reading articles like this one, to make sure that the concepts were strong, and lots of brainstorming, as you mentioned, and free writing to try to generate lots and lots of ideas so I could choose the best ones from among them.
Okay. I'd like to ask you a question about the specific character of Fatima. For example, as seen here, the wearing the clothing of Fatima. That didn't rise any kind of stereotypes and prejudice when you publish it.
I have not heard them. It's possible that somebody reacted that way, but mostly what I've heard is how happy people are to see a girl in hijab, because there's so few in U.S. publishing. There's so few portrayals of hijabi girls, so it's really significant. So I was happy to hear.
I'm really surprised because you know the name in Arabic too.
Yes.
It shows that it's most known. I'm really happy.
Yes.
I'm proud to be Muslim too. Because for us, it's scarf, burqa, and something like that.
Yes. And as you said, the characters are composite, so I really, they're kind of almost concept characters to represent a certain type of experience.
Good. So I'd like just to end our interview by making the last question. What is the message you want to convey to immigrant children in general, wherever they are?
To immigrant children and to the people in the communities where they arrive. My core message is that we all belong to each other, and we are all connected to each other, and that immigrant children arrive not as blank slates who don't know anything, but as full human beings with a complete culture and a life and a background that's rich and complex, and then they have to start all over again and learn a new one. And this is a heroic feat that they accomplish in being able to adjust to the new country, and we need to welcome the richness of what they bring.
Okay. And if you'd like to give us some advices in order to work, to get down to business and to do a good work on our comics, as I told you, we're working on a children's book, which will be a comic.
Wonderful. Well, I would say that to make sure you document your process, you had mentioned that that your professor suggested putting things on paper. So I have all this paper, and in many cases, I remembered to put the date on, but I didn't always remember that. So put the date on so you can see your process.
Okay.
And then think about how to engage your audience by making a connection that they can, building a bridge they can walk across. For instance, when I use this book with children, the first question I always ask is, do you remember being new? What does it feel like? That's a universal experience, and then everybody's engaged in the process and feels like they're part of it. So I think that's a great way to make sure that your audience is invested in what you're doing.
And what do you think about to come up with something new? For example, as I told you, an interactive comic.
I love that idea.
Yes. Because it's something new. For example, here in Brazil, we're just trying to search for it, to see how it can be possible for us to work on it and to get interested for the audience, the target audience.
Yeah, that's a lovely idea. Then you would generate new stories and new responses that other people could engage with. I love it. I can't wait to see what you do.
Okay, at the end, I really thank you for being so patient with me.
We did it.
I'm really happy that finally we could do the video interview. It's really nice. It's really nice.
Great.
I
And
have
if by
had
any,
really a great pleasure.
me too. And if it, by any chance it doesn't work, then we'll schedule another time.
Okay, I think at this time it works. I
Good.
will check that later on. But I
Great.
think that you can hear me clearly, no problem.
Yes. Right.
Okay, we could
Sounds good.
solve the problem of the starting voice, no?
Yes. It comes in and out a little bit still, but it's much better than it was.
Okay, that's good. I will try to share ideas with my crew. I will try to explain them how it can be possible for us that can make our work really available for our target audience. It represents children, and I think it's really important for us to
Yeah.
care about that.
Wonderful. I can't wait to see it.
Okay, I don't know. I think it would be suitable for you to come here.
I think it's a great idea. I think we
Yes.
should work on that.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you again and have a
Thank
nice
you.
day. Thank you.
You
Thank you for
too. Good luck with your
understanding.
project.
Thank you for
All right.
understanding.
Thanks.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.